Hello, everyone, and welcome. This is the pregame show. I am your host, Trellis Williams. Once again, we're very excited about this show because we have, as a special guest, head coach of the Raymond Rangers, the champions of the 4A state championship this past year. That is Tony Tadlock. He's going to be with us here today, and we've got him right here. And Coach, look, Coach, another year, another chip for you, Coach. And it's back to back this year, your fifth championship as head coach. But it's not easy, Coach, because you guys had to replace a starting lineup. I mean, you had a lot of big time players last year. You had EJ Payman, who was a top player in his class. He was gone after last year. And you had multiple other players gone. And you had to come up with the guys that were below them, and those guys got it done, and you coached them up to another championship. Coach, how did you guys get it done this season?
First of all, I appreciate you having me this morning, being able to talk about our historic season this year, and I'm going to take you back to last year after we won the championship back in March in 2024. We had a special run, started number one, finished number one. And a lot of people then kind of started speculating. Well, I know it's time for you to go to greener pastures. I know you've done as much as you could do at Raymond, and that's a quote that I really don't really understand when people say you've done as much as you could do, because I'm kind of selfish that we have won four state championships. I mean, I feel like you can win five. I feel like you can win six, seven, however many it is.
Yeah,
So I never feel like that you can only do so much at a certain place. I think when you cap yourself, of course, you're limiting yourself to grow. And this year taught us so much, not only about basketball, it taught us about life. It taught us about ourselves. Again, a lot of people thought I was leaving, taking different jobs around the state, and
yeah,
I'm very loyal to Raymond. It would have to take a special opportunity for me to leave this place, because they gave me an opportunity when nobody else did. And so of course, when we made the decision that, hey, we're pushing forward here, I can tell you that these guys bought in, and they were already bought in, but they knew we had a chance to win state. Now, nobody outside of our locker room did, just because the big names, as people would call them, they were gone. And but what people don't understand is the guys that were practicing against our state champions last year were these guys that played this year. Our guys aren't state champions just by practicing a bunch of guys that can't play. And so
that's
this
right.
group was gritty. They were tough, physical, hard nosed, and the biggest thing, man, they were so coachable. Every day, like, we didn't really deal with attitudes and things of that. And then that's one thing. And with me being in year 8 now, that's one thing that we shouldn't really have to deal with is body language issues, attitude. If you have a good
Yeah,
culture in place, and I feel like our guys do a great job of making sure our culture is top tier and the best in the state. And so, and I said this last night. I was on a podcast, and I have to bring it up. We played at the Jamboree at Northwest Rankin back in October, and we didn't score a point in the first quarter. And I heard the rumblings. It's a rebuild. It's this. They're finally taking a step back. And of course, we didn't need any more fuel to motivate us,
that's
because we're
right.
going to be our own worst critic every day, and we're going to figure it out. But hearing that kind of allowed these guys to see, like, they really don't believe in you. Like, they really think that you're going to be that bad this year. And we started, I think, 7-1, won some games against Brandon and
Yeah,
Terry early on, and both of them are really good teams and well coached too. And so, anyways, I knew when we competed against those guys, I knew we were going to be able to have a chance, of course, to make a run. And I knew Lanier was going to be a great team in our
yeah,
division. I mean, of course, they're well coached. They were, I think they should have been preseason number one. But when we beat them at our place, that really kind of gave us a win, that we're like, okay, well, we got a shot. And then we beat Northwest Rankin, who's really good this year and well coached. And then we knew it was going to come down to that district tournament playing Lanier. And we were fortunate enough to be on the winning side. And we got the home game where Lanier had to go on the road and play Morton. And
yeah,
that's a tough game on the road in the second round. And we ended up getting Mendenhall, who was just as good as Morton. I mean, they were tough as nails too. And that game came down to the wire, and we were able to win. But of course, it was a lot easier being at home than on the road. And so we were able to make the run through the playoffs, and we knew we had to hang our hat on defense this year. I knew we weren't going to be able to score 60, 70 a game, but we didn't have to. The way we controlled the game, our guards were great this year at
yeah,
making sure we took great shots. We didn't rush a lot of things, and that was evident in the state championship game too. But I was so proud of the way these guys guarded, because for the last 2 years in the state championship game, we've seen 2-3 zones, seen presses, we've seen man to man, we've seen all this, and us here at Raymond, we've played for 32 minutes nothing but straight up man to man defense. And I feel like that's one thing I learned early in my career from Randy and a few others, that if you want to win in Jackson when it matters, you got to be able to guard man to man. You know, zones look good,
Yeah.
but at the end of the day, you got to be able to crawl into somebody and get stops.
Absolutely. Coach, I want to turn the attention to your background and your journey. And, you played, I know, at Pearl High School in your high school time. You also came from Meridian as an assistant coach. Just talk about your journey and how you got here to being the head coach at Raymond, which you've been the head coach the last 8 seasons.
Yeah, so it started back at Pearl. Of course, grew up in Pearl, families from Pearl. I grew up single parent home. My mom, my dad, he was killed in a fire. He was a fireman
Yeah.
when my mom was 3 months pregnant, and that's one thing. I like to share my story with that, just because I want to be able to be an influence and a positive role model to people that maybe that do come from single parent households and things of that nature. Like it hadn't always been white picket fence with a 2-story house.
Yeah.
And so like my whole deal is my mom taught me how to get it out of the mud. You have to grind, you have to work, you have to persevere when
Yeah.
things, happen to you in life. And very grateful for my grandparents. They're still alive. They're still here. They're my biggest fans, man. They don't miss games. They're there front row every night. And one thing I love to do is make them proud. And going back to me being at Pearl, play for Randy, my 10th grade through 12th grade year. And a lot of people don't know Richard Williams, who was the Final Four coach at Mississippi State,
Yeah.
he was actually the head coach there my ninth grade year. And so it was very unique playing under those two guys that were
Yeah.
obviously, I mean, that's a ton of knowledge for a high school student to be able to have to play for those two guys. And when I left there, went to Hines, then I went to the University of Southern Mississippi, graduated. But Randy had always told me, he's like, you're going to be a coach one day. I see it in you. And I was always kind of like, no, I don't ever see myself being a coach. He's like, man, I just see how you are, like, the way you think about plays, the way you think about practice, the questions you ask me. He said, man, you're a little bit more mature than, a lot of these guys are for your age. And you're asking me questions that I could see, you being a coach. And when I got to Southern Miss, I gave him a call and I said, Coach, I feel like you were right. I'm going into coaching. He said, well, I've just been waiting on this call. He said, just let me know when you get done. And so I would come and watch his games when he was in Meridian with Rodney Hood and those guys. And
Yeah.
when I got finished, he was like, I'm going to get you a job. Do you want to go to Clinton, Northwest Rank, and all this? And I said, well, Coach, no, actually, I want to move to Meridian and work with you. And he said, well, if I'd known that, I'm thinking you just want to go into coaching. And I was like, no, Coach, that's kind of why I've been, like promoting it to you. Like, I want to work with you. And he said, "Oh, that's done." And man, it was my interview wasn't even an interview. I was really just meeting the principal, and Randy had got me the job, and I was so thankful for that. And that was some of the best 6 years of my life, man. He gave me um, the keys to the ninth grade program after my first year, and I think we went on a run. It was like we went 63-2 over 5 years, and we won the last 52 games. It was kind of remarkable. We won 52 games in a row,
Unbelievable.
and we were playing Starkville, Wayne County, Hattiesburg, Oak Grove. We weren't playing just some random JV team. No, we were actually playing a true schedule. We had
Yeah.
won the little ninth grade deal over there 4 years in a row. And when that group got to become seniors, so all the ninth grade, 10th, 11th,
Yeah.
and 12th classes all in one, we had won a state championship my last year. And so it was great. And I was working under Ron Norman then. And very glad I got to work with him. Great guy. He still calls me to this day. We talk weekly, just about life, different things. And so, man, I've been very fortunate to work under some really good people. And that's one thing that has humbled me over the years, just knowing that, the people that I work for, the knowledge that I was able to gain, I'm very, very appreciative of those people that's helped me along my journey. And of course, getting this job here, I'll tell you a story about this job. I didn't plan on being here. I didn't really care to be a head coach when I was leaving Meridian, because I could still go back to Meridian, or I thought I was going to go and be Randy's assistant in junior college, at
Yeah.
Jones. And he's like, no, he said, you're not going to come work with me, not because I don't want you, but because it's time to be your own man. And you've done everything it takes to be a head coach. And so I was like, Coach, I'm still good. I don't want to teach. I'm tired of that. I want to go to Jones so I can just work about basketball and recruiting, whatever I need to do. And he said, I'm going to tell you this. If it don't work out your first year at Raymond, I'll hire you back. He said, but I can tell you this. I'll probably never hire you again. He said, unless we go to the Division I level, because I know you're going to do that good of a job at Raymond. And, of course, that first year, we ended up winning state that year. And then, of course, we lose our whole starting 5, 6 seniors. And then we come back the next year. And a lot of people are like, yeah, let's see if he can really coach. He walked into a talented team, and we won it again. And then we lost all 5 seniors again that year. And then we came back the next year, ended up getting beat by Greenwood in the state championship in 2020. But then, of course, the run that we've had the last couple of years after that. We got runner up in 21, we won it in 22, runner up in 23, and then we won it the last 2 years. So I told our administration when I interviewed for this job, I said, if y'all will give me 5 years, we'll be the number one program in the state. And it was about 8 or 9 people at the table, and a couple of them kind of were like, "You know where you are, right? You're at 4A Raymond. Like, we want to win, and but you're talking about being the number one program in the state." And I said, "Yeah." I said, "We got a plan in place. Kind of the same plan we had in Meridian, and it's very similar. We have 3 middle schools here that feed to the high school. We have 3 middle schools in Meridian that fed the high school. So I understood the importance of getting in the middle schools.
Yeah.
Building that relationship with those
Yeah.
kids. Being more than just a high school coach on Tuesday and Friday nights." And so I just knew that the plan we had in place, we're going to work. We're going to get after it, and we're going to love these kids extremely hard because that's what they need. And man, our culture speaks for itself. We do every day. I mean, of course, we're talking about life more than when we're talking about basketball. They come in my office. I'm in my office now in the main building, and they're in here on my couch. In here, they're eating Pop-Tarts, water. I mean, we're just talking. That's the biggest thing that I enjoy about coaching is the
Yeah.
fellowship and being able to mentor and lead. The state championships it just adds to it. Don't get me wrong, the wins are fun, but knowing that these guys are family for life is something that I really appreciate more than anything. So that is what's got me to year 14. Being starting at Pearl, going to Meridian, and of course being here for the last 8 years. All those stops along the way, and just the people that I've met have obviously contributed to my journey thus far.
That's right, and I know you're talking about building, and a big thing that's happened with you guys is that I know Raymond's basketball program is very well known now in the state of Mississippi. I mean, you guys even have an arena over there now, which is
Right,
real nice. But that kind of stuff follows the winning. You don't get that
right.
kind of stuff when nobody cares about the program, and so that's a big thing. But kind of talk about that a little bit. I mean, you get that once you get that arena coming in, now you got a lot of people coming to games. You can seat about 2,000 people in that place.
Right.
Just kind of talk about
Exactly.
the atmosphere that you guys have at your home games, especially when you play teams like Terry, which is another good basketball program, and you're talking about that local rivalry. Just kind of talk about that.
Yeah, and we're very appreciative of our school board administration and most definitely the taxpayers of Hines County that helped push the bond issue, which brought that to Raymond High School, and of course Terry just finished theirs
That's right.
in the last month. But that's one thing when teams walk in our building and they see the banners, they see how big it is, and they're like, wow, like this is a high school gym. And just to take you a step back too, we just hosted the 1, 2, 3A South playoffs here um, for the quarterfinals, and every team that walked in, they were like, "Man, I want to come here, man. This is ridiculous. Like this is better than JUCO gyms.
Yeah.
This is a high school gym. We have a team room where we can watch film. It has like 30 seats in it. A Promethean board, so we don't have to leave. We have a weight room upstairs. So, and there's nobody in the gym all day. It's not like peas in the gym messing your floor up or anything like that. It's strictly just for girls and boys basketball. And of course, we got our performing arts center, which is unbelievable for our
Yeah.
fine arts program. I mean, it's top tier. I would put it up there with even better than being at Thymar Hall just because of the acoustics, all the music equipment, everything. The
Yeah.
speakers, it's ridiculous how nice it is. So they did it right when they built it. But I can tell you that I think we had one night during the playoffs down here, we had over 4,000 people. From 4 o'clock to of course 10 o'clock that night for different games. You may just say sold over 4,000 tickets, and that's unbelievable. And everybody that left here, they were like, dang, y'all are 4A school and y'all got this kind of gym. And so that's one thing I tell our guys every day. Like, we are so blessed and lucky to have a facility like this, just to be able to lift weights on your own, work out on your own. Nobody's in your way. You don't have to worry about classes and things like that.
Yeah.
Or, it just helps you take pride in what you have. And when you build nice things, part of being a coach, I think, is helping your young guys take care of them, and how good is a nice house if you just junk it up? You know what I'm saying? There's no
That's right.
need to have a nice house. And so again, it goes back to that piece on we try to grow each of our kids to the point to where it's bigger than the game of basketball. But yeah, if you hadn't come out to see it, people that's watching, man, it's definitely a sight to see. Nice trophy case in the front. I mean, you walk into the restrooms and it feels like you're at Malco. Theaters like 40 something stalls, and so
Yeah.
I'm sure a custodians probably don't like cleaning it up every night after a game, but it's definitely like it's state of the art for sure.
That's right. That's right. Well, this is Coach Tony Tadlock right here. We will step aside, be right back. This is 97.7, the pregame show. All right, folks, we're back. This is the pregame show right here, 97.7. Right here with me is Coach Tony Tadlock of the Raymond Rangers. They went 26-8 this past year, winning their second straight 4A state title, winning their 14 of their last 15 games. And, Coach, I want to ask you this. So, just take us through preparation for a season. So whenever you have a championship culture like you guys have, and you got a good rhythm now, you're about to go into year 9, but you're in year 8 right now. I know you have a routine on how you get into the season, how you take to the summer, how you take to the preseason, and then as the season goes along, just talk about that preparation and what you guys do to get ready for these seasons and these deep playoff runs.
Yeah, so what we do, of course, we start out this time of year. We enjoy, of course, the celebration of winning a championship. But after that, the week after spring break, I mean, we get back rolling. I mean,
That's
we don't
right.
take a whole month and a half off. We don't wait till tryouts in May. I mean, we're back at it. Lifting weights, conditioning, working on skill work, things of that nature. And when we get to our tryout date, early to mid May, of course, the guys that make the team, we have a parent meeting immediately, and then we get into the summer. I mean, and the bus never stops moving. We're Mississippi State, Ole Miss, Southern Miss, Mississippi College, Belhaven, Jackson State. We try to hit 2 or 3 of those camps every year, and then of course we play some local games against some of the local teams. We'll just go to Clinton and play, or go to Pearl, go to Brandon, wherever we can get games at Madison Central, and so. After that, we shut it down for the month of July. I do give them that time off. I still want them to be a kid. I want them to go on vacation, enjoy time away. Because, I mean, just like anything in life, if your favorite food is steak and you eat it for 2 or 3 weeks in a row, you're gonna be like, man, I want some chicken in a minute. I want something else. And
That's
so
right. That's
I
right.
don't I don't want them to experience burnout. And I think burnout is heavy because they do play AAU in July, and so I do want them to get away from me because I know when August comes, you have no choice. Like, I mean, we're in this grind for the next 6 or 7 months, and so at the end of the day, one of the things that we do, especially when August starts, the lifting, the running, the conditioning, back to the skill work again. I firmly believe in lifting weights. That's one thing that a lot of people think that may be just a football thing. But no, we lift weights all up until we lifted weights. We won on Wednesday, we lifted weights on Thursday, and then we played state championship on Saturday. So that's one thing that we do constantly year round. And we scale back during the season, but we lift as much as we can preseason. But our
Yeah.
typical practice during the season lasts about 2 hours. That includes film, that includes weights, that includes practice. So it's very important that we continue. If we want to continue the championship run, we have to outwork the people in front of us. Okay.
Um, so, Coach, I know that different coaches have different styles in terms of this, but Coach, what are you more like in terms of preparation game by game? Are you more focused on what your team's doing throughout the season, or are you laser focused on what the other team's doing and how to beat that?
Yeah, it's funny you asked that because um, in my 8 seasons here, I'm always more concerned about what we're doing. But we probably watched less film this year than we did any year, just because we had such a great group that took the initiative on their own to watch film. So they would come in and give scouting reports. I'd have a kid say, "Coach, can I get the scouting report today?" If when we're playing Macomb or Richland or whoever it is in district, and they would give a whole lineup. I mean, just like their assistant coach, or just like they're part of our staff, just because they were so locked in to wanting to be that good, just because, of course, they heard the outside noise and all that. But they took it among themselves, to make sure they watched film. They had a scouting report. And of course, I'm making sure that we're watching film as well. And I'm doing my part just so if there is anything like, they may watch a game or two and get a scouting report, and I may watch 3 or 4 games. And I say, well, this kid can shoot the ball a little better. He may not have shot it well those 2 nights, but he is a shooter, so we do need to make sure we know where he's at. But even up until the state championship game, I would put games on Huddle and things like that for them to watch it. But just sitting down as a team, we would talk more about strategy, scouting report, how we're going to guard, than, hey, we're going to watch 45 minutes worth of film. Just because I believe in what we do, I believe in how we guard. And I just feel like at the end of the day, if we can take care of what we can control, we'll be in good shape.
Absolutely. Another thing, Coach, you've had some talented players come through, but you've been able to coach all your players with a lot of consistency on getting pretty far. But when you're dealing with
Right.
your players that are very talented, that are heading to the next level, what is your focus when it comes to your players? I know you want to win, but you also want to develop these players, get them ready for the next level as well. Talk about that preparation for your players who are playing in college after playing for you.
Yeah, and that's one thing that we push big time is, of course, we want our kids to go to college, whether it's on an athletic scholarship, academics, whatever it may
That's
be.
right.
Any way we can get to school for free, that's our ultimate goal.
Yeah,
And but I think our program speaks for itself when it comes to producing college kids. And when coaches come in and watch, even though this year, people said we weren't near as talented, but they come in and watch, they're like, where's this kid at? Where'd he come from? I mean, he came from our program. He's worked his
sure.
tail off for 4 years. I mean, he's done a great job of leading. And now, especially like your junior college in Mississippi, if I'm a junior college coach, I don't need seven guys that can score 20. I need a guy that can rebound. I need guys that can defend. I need guys that are great culture guys. I need guys that have come from winning programs. I think that's something that a lot of coaches, they may get a kid that's at a 1A school that averaged 27 a game, but they were 15 and 18. Is he used to scoring the ball every night or is he used to winning? And I
That's
think
right.
knowing how to win is a skill. I really do. And so, at the end of the day, when coaches come in, they of course they enjoy how hard we work, and the biggest thing too, I can coach these kids extremely hard. I think that's a lost art in our profession today because a lot of coaches are scared of the best kid transferring or things of that nature. I at the end of the day, we build such a good culture. The transferring is the last thing on our kids' minds. They're ready to be in that next role of wanting to be the next group to win a state championship.
It's interesting that you bring that up because, especially here in the Jackson area, you have a lot of these. You'll have some of these private schools trying to
Right.
recruit, and but you've been able. It seems like you've been able to keep a lot of your guys and keep the train rolling. So this year, you
Right.
guys, you mentioned this earlier. Lanier was a big time opponent for
Correct.
you guys this year. They had a great season. They ended up losing to
Right.
Morton in the second round, as you mentioned. They beat you guys the first time, but the second
They
time
did.
you beat them by nearly 30 points. So
That's right.
just kind of talking about getting over that hump. That was a big thing.
Right.
And you guys were able to get over that hump, and I know that probably went into you guys going ahead and winning 14 of the last 15 games.
Yeah, and it's funny you say that because I didn't even realize we won 14 out of 15. Then my mind started wondering, I'm like, who did we lose to? And of course, we lost to Jim Hill at their place on senior night. But when we went to Lanier the first time, of course, they played really well over there. I knew it would be tough. And I'm going to be honest with you, when we beat them here the way we did, I was very surprised. I think we beat them by 29. I think it was
Yeah,
that night. We shot the ball really well. And, we saw some weaknesses that in them. And I said, maybe we could exploit them the next time. And of course, they came back in the district tournament. It was a great game. They were actually up six with 4 minutes to play, and we went on a 10-0 run to finish the game out. We ended up winning by four. But just that whole game, I mean, that night in the district tournament, we knew how important that game was. And a lot of people know this, some people may not, but me and Lawrence Clark, the coach at Lanier, we're really
that's right.
good friends. He's one of my better friends in coaching, and we always talk about it. If we can't get it done, maybe y'all can, represent the South and represent our division. And now this is the first time in 8 years they're actually going to 5A. So we won't be seeing each other much anymore unless we
That's right.
schedule a game outside. And so, but yeah, like I say, they were super loaded. And then when you go back and look at the top five in 4A to start the year, I mean, you had New Albany, you had Pass Christian, you had I forgot the five teams that were all ranked in the preseason top five. None of them made it to Jackson, and so it just shows you how tough 4A is. I know a lot of coaches that are either going down to 3A this year or up to 5A, and they are much more happier. I just think there's a lot of parity and there's a
Yeah,
lot of really good basketball
yeah,
programs in 4A every year, and so.
yeah.
But of course, we had to stay put. We're I guess a staple in 4A, but there's a lot of good programs in 4A every year, and it just makes it that much tougher. And even going back, I've said this: my first year we played Corinth, in the first game in the
That's
state
right.
championship. They didn't make it back to a state championship, and Florence was the next year. They didn't make it back to a state championship. We played Greenwood. They didn't make it back, and so each year that we've played, whoever it is that we've played, they've never made it back. And what's ironic is we've never played the same team in the state championship game. We've never played in 8 years. It's always been a different opponent. And so that's one thing I want even our community, and I know they do, but just the natural people that, man, it's hard to get back. And obviously that's a stat right there that we've never played the same opponent in 8 years, in the state championship
Yeah.
game. So that speaks for itself on how hard it is to get back.
Absolutely. And very impressive that you guys are able to do that so consistently. And it makes for high expectations. Absolutely. And
Absolutely.
I know you
Yeah.
deal with that, Coach, for sure. We've had Coach Clark from Lanier on the show, so we definitely appreciated him. We had him during the season. But so, folks, we've got Coach Tony Tadlock with us. I'm going to have one more question for him when we come back. This is 97.7. And we are back right here. This is 97.7, the beat of the capital. This is the pregame show. I am Trellis Williams. With me is Tony Tadlock, head coach of the Raymond Rangers. And Coach, my last question for you is about the culture, and we've talked about that, and you feel very good about the culture that you've built there, and it's been very reflective in terms of, it seems like, how your players respond to you, but as well as the winning that you guys have been able to do. But that is something that coaches really look to be able to do, is build a good culture. It's not easy. So just talk about what has gone into building that culture, and what you kind of done to be cognizant of that.
Yeah, I think I mean, you hear that word thrown out a lot this day and time, culture this, culture that, whether it's in the business world, whether it's corporate, whether it's
That's right.
teams. We want to have a great culture, but how are you going to get there? And that's
Yep.
one thing that when I got this job, I talked about brotherhood, family, love. A lot of our kids, they never heard a man say, "I love you, I care for you." And that's something that I take pride in every day. I tell our kids, we break it up every day when we get done. I love you guys. Y'all be safe tonight, wherever it may be. Just because I think that's imperative that a young male can have another, of course, role model, mentor, whatever, tell them that they love and care about them. And so we build our program based off of that: family, love, brotherhood, togetherness, anything that you can think of
Right.
regarding that. That's what we do. Sitting down, taking the time, like I say, like just being in my office right now, kids come in throughout the day. And I mean, when I say my door is revolving, Coach, you got a Pop Tart? Coach, you got $2? I want to buy this at lunch. Coach, can I talk to you? I got this going on at home. Absolutely. And one thing that I'll tell you guys, like I lost my mom when I was 25 years old from a sudden heart attack. So of course I'm thankful for the 25 years I did have my mom, but it helped me in my profession growing up in a single parent home. It helped me not to have my biological father in my life. Of course, my granddad and my high school coach were my two most influential men in my life growing up. But being able to see, our guys, they may not have a mom. I've had kids lose moms during the season. I had lose dads, lose whatever it may be. And, I can sit here all day long and say, man, I know that's terrible, man. I'm here for you. But when I can sit there and say, man, I know what you're going through. I've been there. I've done that. Like my mom didn't have any other children. So it was just me growing up. And so I'm very appreciative of the path that God has laid out for me, because I definitely use that, to blaze my own trail every day. And one thing I even said it the other day, man, don't ever, bet against yourself. Like when we talked about our culture from day one, hey, this is what we're going to do. This is what we believe in. And this is how this is the plan to get it done. And, it's one thing that when people talk about, hey, I want to build a house, don't come to me to build a house. Don't come to me to fix a pipe in your house if it bursts. But if you want to talk about how to run a program and how to treat kids the right way and how to build it the right way, man, I think we got a pretty special thing going on here at Raymond. And again, I give my assistants, I mean, they do a great job of buying into what I ask them to do. Um, our kids get the ultimate credit. I mean, when I say the last 8 years couldn't have gone any better from when it comes to even the shortcomings. I tell people all the time, I'm glad there's times where we have gotten runner ups. And people are like, why would you say that? I want to be a champion. Because it's taught me how to fight back and become a champion again. If all you do is win, like you don't, a lot of people never self reflect and figure out, man, what did we do wrong? How can we do better? We probably don't win this championship this year if we don't have a runner up finish along the way. Just
That's right.
knowing how, hey, this didn't work and let's change it. Don't be stubborn enough to think, no, this is my way. Like this is going to work. It worked with EJ and them last year, so it should work now. There's some things that we changed during the middle of the year, and these guys didn't look at it like, why are we changing? They bought into it just because that's what we do. We don't question each other. If we got opinions, I allow them to say it. Just like they'll come in, I say, so what do y'all think? Do we feel good about tonight? Is anything y'all would change? Oh yeah, coach, we're good. And so, that's one thing, man, having an open door policy, man, being able to love on kids, man, the right way, just treat them the right way. Because I always tell them, you graduate from Raymond High School, you don't graduate from me. You're stuck with me for life. And so, I mean, I have kids,
Yeah,
and this
that's
is
right.
a true testament to our culture that during Christmas break, during Thanksgiving break, we're going to have 15 to 20 former players come in every practice. And we practice in the mornings, 8 o'clock in the morning. They're there at 7:30 ready to go with these guys. And I'm talking about guys that's not even playing college ball anymore. But that's just our culture. They know to come back and give back, because that's one thing I preach while they're here. Hey, I need you to practice against these guys during the break, or when you're off, or you get off early in the evenings. When my kids are going against 22 and 23-year-olds every day, that's a lot different than going against a 17-year-old, that's in 10, or 16-year-old that's in the 10th grade, on JV right now. So any advantage we can get, we definitely do. And I have former players come back and talk to the guys all the time, and just promoting that culture the best that we can, just so, of course, we can hopefully win championships. But the big thing is teach these guys how to give back to where they came from.
Yeah, for sure. And coach, I think that's awesome. And obviously, congratulations to you for all your success. And it seems like you're very that this is a very fulfilling role to be able to lead
Absolutely.
young men and be able to be that example for them. So, coach, we appreciate you coming on to this show for sure, the pregame show.
Yes, and thank you again for having me. And we appreciate everything that you do promote. Of course, local high school sports, and just obviously blazing your own trail as well. Of course, because I believe everybody in life has a purpose, and man, just keep doing a great job at what you do as well.
Oh, yeah, I appreciate you, Coach. Folks, this is 97.7, the beat of the capital. This is the pregame show. I'm your host, Trellis Williams, and until next time, we out.